Hello everyone, this is part 19 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. He had her. It had taken almost 2 hours, and all the patience he could muster, but he finally had her. Just a few more feet, and he had her. Snap. The dry twig breaking under Naruto's foot might just as well have been an explosive tag. Hinata spun around, and when she saw him she smiled gently. Then she was gone, again, disappearing into the forest. Naruto almost ran after her, but stopped himself. There was no point to giving chase. His girlfriend was just a bit faster than him normally, but Uzumaki also carried almost 200 pounds worth of chakra weights. 1, 2, 3, the blonde Chunin began to count. They were working on his stealth skills with a modified game of hide and seek. After noticing him, and letting him know she had seen him, she had 20 seconds to find a new hiding spot. Naruto could have pursued her, but knew it was a waste of time. That was the purpose of the weights. He could never hope to run her down in this situation, he had to sneak up on her. Fortunately, they were both prohibited from using any sort of ninjutsu or genjutsu, including Hinata's Byakugan. Otherwise, he would have had no chance to surprise the nimble dojutsu user. Hinata had been it first, but even with the extra weight, it had only taken her 17 minutes to catch him. Naruto was not upset by the result. Hinata usually caught him in less than 10. This time, he had managed to catch a whiff of her scent, and spotted her seconds before she tagged him. But the second time, he hadn't been so lucky. 20, the fox-faced young man proclaimed, but he did not start moving. Instead, he looked up at the sun. It was getting close to noon, and just once he wanted to capture his girlfriend before lunch. He took a deep breath, and set out. The 16-year-old ninja moved to the last place he had seen Hinata, and began to look for signs of her. Though not as sharp as the Anbu shinobi, or some of the jonin, Hinata's infiltration skills were top-notch. He could not see a leaf or spider web out of place. So he went for his primary scouting weapon, sniffing at the air. Unlike the Hyuga Kekkei Genkai, Naruto could not turn off his nose. Unfortunately, he and Hinata had been back and forth across the forest all morning, so her trail was concealed. Naruto crept carefully in the direction of Hinata's initial heading. He watched the trees carefully, looking for anything out of place. At the same time, he continued to sniff gently, hoping to catch a trace of her pleasant scent. As he skulked through the trees, he noticed a slightly bent branch. Racking his brain, he decided it was not one of his mistakes, and he turned in that direction. A few seconds later, Hinata's pheromones became more noticeable, and the young adult slowed further, letting his nose lead the way. Then he saw her, crouching on a branch, maybe 30 yards away. He stopped, praying that she hadn't noticed him. But she was looking in the opposite direction, and he hadn't made any loud noises, so for the moment he was safe. Still, the Chunin did not move, considering his past failures and his girlfriend's abilities. Even without her Byakugan, he thought to himself, Hinata still has really good eyes. And I kinda stand out. So I need to stay totally behind her. But this understanding was of little help to the ninja. The Hyuga heiress had chosen her position such that her back was partially blocked by the oak's trunk, and the area behind her was littered with potential noise makers, and had no close branches from which to make a leap. Looking at the thick underbrush, Uzumaki started to form a plan. It was a trick that would only work once, but if he did it right, he could finish being it in record time. Or at least, record time for him. Hinata was getting worried. Naruto didn't usually take this long to find her, but every so often he would end up searching an entirely different part of the forest. She considered moving, but decided to give him another few minutes first. Just as she was getting ready to shift to a different position, she heard a rustling. Looking down, she saw a flash of orange moving low through the brush. She felt sorry for him, and considered ignoring what she saw. But the kunoichi knew that Naruto would not appreciate that, nor would it help him improve his skills. I see you, Naruto, she shouted towards him, and hopped backwards off the tree limb. She spun in mid-air, and her eyes went wide when she saw Naruto standing below her. His jacket was gone, leaving him in only a black tank top. He caught her as she landed. "I see you, too," he whispered happily in her ear before kissing her quickly. "Naruto," she gasped, "how did you?" She trailed off, not wanting to accuse him of cheating. "I set up a branch to fire one of my stealth kunai, with my jacket tied to it," he explained. "I hoped the jacket would slow the kunai enough that it wouldn't go by too fast, and I aimed it low so the grasses would help hide the fact that it was only my jacket." She smiled proudly at him, and he released her. "I better find where it went," he said regretfully. She nodded. "Then we can eat lunch," she told him. Uzumaki hurried over to where his outer layer had disappeared, and she activated her Byakugan to help him search. Hinata had made their lunch, as they had not known how long the training session would last. They made their way slowly back to the riverbank, holding hands, and then proceeded upstream to where they had stowed the backpacks. Naruto put away the chakra weights, while Hinata spread out the blanket, and set out ham sandwiches and bags of chips. Naruto rejoined Hinata, and began to eat with gusto. "This is really good, Hinata," he complimented her. "It's just some leftover ham from last night," she blushed slightly. "Yes, but the ratio of meat to bread is perfect," he puffed out his cheeks and mimicked Choji, "and you added just the right amount of butter." She giggled, and bit into her second half of a sandwich, while Naruto reached for a third. After a few minutes of silence, the couple finished eating. As Hinata started packing, Naruto noticed a spot of butter on her cheek. "Hinata," he said, and when she paused to look at him, he leaned in and licked her cheek clean. Hinata turned bright red, but a second later she fixed him with a different kind of ravenous gaze. He shifted to the right, and pressed his lips to hers. Hinata fell back, drawing him down on top of her. She grabbed his neck and waist, pulling him closer as she worked her lips against his. After a time too long, yet too short, he broke away, panting. "Gods, I love you, Hinata. We should get back," she suggested regretfully. "I need to get ready for tonight." Naruto nodded, closing his jacket. He helped her fold the blanket, and they set off towards the village, hand in hand once again. Hinata split with Naruto near the center of the Hidden Leaf village, as each chunin went home to change for the date. The young woman smiled at the irony, going on a date after the make-out session they had just had. But Ino had given her a pair of theater tickets, to make up for the slumber party, and there was no way the Hyuga-san could let them go to waste. The tickets were for the acclaimed traveling production of 7 Days, 7 Nights, the classic romantic comedy of errors. And the seats were quite good as well. It seemed Minako Yamanaka still had some ties to the theater company that had given the actress-turned-model-turned-florist her start. Hinata had been afraid it would be hard to convince Naruto to accompany her, but her boyfriend turned out to be willing to go, and even a little excited. He had even made a reservation at a cafe near the playhouse, so they could get a bite to eat before the show. The young woman snuck through the manor, partly because she was in a hurry, but more to avoid her sister. For the last few weeks, Hanabi's unpleasant comments towards Naruto had grown more frequent and pointed, and Hinata did not want her younger sister spoiling her mood. Hinata secured the door to her room, and quickly shed her outer garments. Clad only in her armored sports bra and boy shorts, she went to her closet and extracted the scarlet dress she intended to wear. She smoothed the strapless, knee-length sheath over the comforter on her bed, already anticipating Naruto's reaction. The kunoichi opened her dresser, and placed a pair of thigh-high white stockings next to the dress. Finally she removed a black bustier and panty set, and situated them closet to the door to her bathroom. She decided to wear her hair loose, and retrieved her bracelet, and the matching earrings. Satisfied with her choices, Hinata removed the last of her clothing, and entered her bathroom to shower. Naruto knocked at the door to the Hyuga manor. He wondered who would greet him this time. If it was normal training visits, it was generally one of the branch family members who greeted him. But one time it had been Hinata's grandfather, which had been an uncomfortable experience for the then genin. But if it was a special visit, it was usually Neji, Hanabi, or Hiyashi. They seemed to take great pleasure in opening the door before Hinata could reach him. He reflected on how that had changed in the last few months. It used to be he would have rather seen Hanabi than her father. Though proud, she had smiled at him, happy for her sister's joy. And Hiashi had been imperious and dismissive. But now the younger sister was snide and sometimes even rude, while her father had grown warmer, even happy to see the young man. Fortunately, the clan leader was the one who opened the door. Good afternoon, Naruto, Hiashi Hyuga said cordially, gesturing to indicate the young man should step inside. As the Chunin complied, the elder shinobi gave him a frank appraisal. Uzumaki was wearing a pair of stylish, yet loose, black slacks, a long-sleeved white dress shirt, and a knee-length black coat with a high collar. The young man also wore simple black dress shoes, and the silver watch Jiraiya had given him for his birthday. Hiashi suspected these were the nicest clothes Naruto owned, but did not say anything. Instead, he was simply impressed that Naruto had appropriate attire for the situation, and that the young man had chosen to wear it. I understand you are taking my daughter to the theater, the Hyuga clan said politely. It's actually more like Hinata is taking me to the theater, sir, Naruto countered with a touch of embarrassment. After all, the tickets are hers. She could have asked someone else. I don't think that would have happened, Hiashi chuckled once. But I am taking her to dinner first, Naruto offered in consolation. Quote. You look gorgeous, Hinata, Naruto gaped. She blushed prettily, and murmured thanks. You do look nice, Hiashi marveled at his daughter's transformation. We better get going, right Naruto? Hinata asked. Yeah, our reservation is at 4:15, Naruto finally closed his mouth. See you later, old man. Not too much later, he admonished as he closed the door behind them. Still impressed by his daughter's makeover, Hiashi realized that he had changed too. He had not been this open, or smiled that much since his wife had died. He wondered if he had Naruto to thank for that, too. Hinata shivered as they stepped into the chill night. The sun was long vanished by the time the performance had let out. Though March days were already growing warm in the Hidden Leaf Village, the nights rapidly lost the heat. Naruto removed his coat, and placed it over her shoulders. Thank you, she said gratefully, pulling the cover tight around her. That was fun, Uzumaki told her, a lot better than I thought it would be. You didn't want to go? She asked. It wasn't something I would have picked, he admitted. Then why were you so eager? She pressed. Because you asked me, he said, as if it was obvious. Part of being in a relationship is doing things with your partner you would do alone, right? Like when you go to action movies with me. And you never know how things might be different when you do them with another person. Besides, he said more softly, you were there for me last week, when I found out about Sasuke. You wouldn't tell me why you've been down the last few days, so when you asked me, I thought this might help cheer you up. Naruto, she said softly, thinking that she sometimes underestimated his perceptiveness. If you can't tell me, or don't want to, that's okay, he told her, but I want to be there for you in any way you'll let me. She slipped her arm around his waist, feeling guilty. Not just for worrying him, but also because part of her wanted to rat out Sakura, to try to turn Naruto against the other woman. However, she knew she couldn't do that. She didn't want to hurt Sakura, or more importantly, risk hurting Naruto. And she did not want to be petty, either. I guess it's just that I'm worried about you, and Kakashi-sensei, and Sakura. Her statement wasn't a lie, just an exaggeration and slight misdirection. All right, he said, slightly dubious. But he draped his arm around her shoulder, and she snuggled in close as he escorted her home. To be honest, she whispered, turning red as was her habit, the dessert we had after lunch helped as much as this date. He chuckled, and contorted himself to brush his lips across hers. I'll share dessert with you any time you want, Hinata-chan, he growled suggestively. She latched onto his chest, and put her head against his shoulder. Sakura can say whatever she wants, Hinata thought to herself, happily. And this time, she meant it. Good morning, Naruto, Neji said somewhat stiffly. The two young men had met up on their way to the ninja operations building. Uzumaki was mission ready, clad in his orange and black jumpsuit, with both his gear pack and kitsune strapped to his back. The Hyuga branch member wore his clan robes, as he usually had since Naruto returned to the village, just over 1 year ago. Hey, Neji, Naruto greeted his friend and rival, why are you heading to Ops? The Hokage has summoned me, his quiet voice made it obvious Naruto should have expected that. You too. The Chunin smirked. I guess that means we're probably gonna be working together again. That does seem likely, the Jonin said dryly. Good, you're both here, Tsunade said without preamble, as the two youths entered her office. Sakura Haruno was already present, waiting. I have a mission for you three, the Hokage informed them, in case you hadn't guessed. It is an A-rank escort mission. She flipped open the file, and turned it around so they could see. Naruto immediately recognized both of their clients, while Neji remembered the woman in the second photo, though he had never met the other. Sakura didn't know either of them. You escorting Daimyo Haruna of the Land of Greens, to meet with Daimyo Toki of the Land of Birds, the medical Sanin explained. Those two countries have been in the process of forming an economic and military alliance. If this conference goes well, they will be signing the treaties. You are to escort Lady Haruna to the Land of Birds, remain with her for the duration of the deliberations, and then return her to the Land of Greens. You must be expecting trouble. To assign this as an A-level task, Neji put forth, is there some resistance to this alliance? Not internally, the Kunoichi Sanin smirked at him, but the Land of Grass has been trying to intercept communiques between the Greens and Birds for a while now. We suspect they have designs on both countries. The alliance would probably put the kibosh on their plans. You should expect Grass Ninja interference. Why us? Naruto asked, confused. I mean, no offense to Neji, but why not just send us with Kakashi-sensei and Hinata? I considered it, their commander admitted, and while both daimyos wanted you, Naruto, Lady Toki also requested Neji's presence. Hiashi has been asking to have some of Hinata's time for clan duties, and sending Neji instead frees up Kakashi for another task. So it worked out pretty good this way. The blonde teen nodded. He was disappointed, but understood the Hokage's reasoning. Now that that is cleared up, Tsunade leaned forward, and handed the oldest teen the file. Neji will be in charge, obviously. You are expected in the Land of Greens in 5 days, so you should have plenty of time. Dismissed. She stopped paying him any attention, and the younger shinobi got the message and vacated her office. Back to the Land of Greens, Naruto grunted as he remembered his rocky introduction to Princess Haruna. We better get going. No, Neji said, shaking his head once, as the Hokage indicated, we have ample travel time to make the first leg of our journey. I still have some things to take care of, so we will not be leaving until this afternoon. We will meet at the gates at 3 p.m., sharp. He stared at Naruto as he said that. The members of Team Kakashi indicated their understanding, and left to finish their own preparations. Once they were gone, Neji withdrew his phone, and hit number 1 on the speed dial. Tenten, he said when the other party answered, it is Neji. I have just been assigned a mission. Can we reschedule dinner to lunch? Though they had left mid-afternoon, the 3 ninjas were not in a particular hurry, and they set up camp after just over 4 hours of travel, just before dark. Given the drop in temperature after sunset, the warriors wanted to have their tent prepared and sleeping bags set out for the night. They started a fire, and the boys began cooking while Sakura took a short jog to a nearby pond to get some water. Neji observed Naruto carefully, as if debating something. Once Sakura was far enough away, the Jonin spoke. Naruto, Neji said sternly, what are your feelings for my cousin? Ow. Naruto grunted in surprise, then pain, as Hyuga's sudden and invasive query caused him to brush the back of his hand against the cooking pot. Can you honestly say that you love her with all of your heart? Neji did not back down, but the inflection of his query indicated the final set of words were not his own. Of course not, Naruto scoffed, that's just stupid. Neji's eyes widened, but Naruto wasn't done. I love Hinata, he said firmly, but love her with all my heart. That would mean I couldn't care about Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, Grandma Tsunade, Shizune-san, my mom, or any of my other family and friends. It's as bad as, she's the only one for me, Naruto continued. I mean, how could I possibly know that? There could be someone out there who's the same as Hinata, except with lighter hair and different name. Or there could be some girl out there that both Hinata and I would fall for, and she'd fall for both of us, and we'd end up in some sort of 3-person relationship. Neji raised an eyebrow. I know that almost never happens outside of bad adult novels, Jiraiya's ghostwriter admitted, but it's possible. My point is, unless I knew every other person in the world, I can't honestly say that. But, Uzumaki said intently, Holding Neji's gaze, I can say that Hinata owns the largest portion of my heart, and I will never intentionally hurt her. The Jonin nodded, briefly impressed. But then his frown returned. If that is the case, Guy student said darkly, then why do you allow Hinata to be continually tormented? What? Naruto jerked back in surprise. Then his face became angry. Who is tormenting Hinata? Uzumaki demanded. Part of Neji wanted to chuckle, Tenten owed him 20 ryo. But he could not spoil the conversation with levity. I suspected you had not noticed, Hisashi's son confided, after all, you are you, and you are accustomed to Sakura behaving in that manner. Sakura. Yukihana's son glanced in the direction his teammate had disappeared, his eye forgotten. Are you saying Sakura has been mean to Hinata? Tenten and Ino first noticed it after your mission to protect Princess Nyoko, Neji explained, that Sakura was becoming terse and condescending towards my cousin. But since the reassignment of your Chunin teams, it has escalated to the point where nearly everyone has noticed it. Why would Sakura do that? Neji shrugged. As her friend and teammate, you would have a better chance of ascertaining her motives than I would. He redirected, having promised his girlfriend that he would let Naruto figure it out. Well, she wasn't happy when Sai took Sasuke's place, Naruto mused, but I thought that was more about Sai's personality. I guess she could resent Hinata for the same reason. Or maybe she's jealous. For an instant, Neji dared to hope. I mean, she's the only one of the girls who doesn't have a boyfriend. And Hinata's the only one who would let Sakura get away with treating her badly. Neji's eyes narrowed in disappointment and annoyance. Then Sakura approached the camp, cutting off any further discussion on the topic. Neji and Sakura both bowed deeply before the leader of the Land of Greens. After a second, and an irate glance from Sakura, Naruto followed suit, though not quite as low as his two colleagues. Please, there is no need for that, Haruna told them, smiling at Naruto. The 19-year-old daimyo waved off her guards, and stood gracefully from her simple wooden throne. She walked quickly over to the Leaf Ninjas, and embraced Naruto. It is good to see you Naruto-kun, she said warmly. Then she released him, and addressed his teammates. You must be Neji-san and Sakura-san, she said, slightly more formally, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I place myself wholly in your care. What about Yorinoju? Naruto asked. He will be taking care of the Land of Greens in my absence, she told him. She looked down, and said quietly, I would rather have him along, but I fear we will need his strength here. Naruto nodded grimly, and Neji's eyebrows almost came together. In that case, their mission leader finally spoke, we should leave as soon as possible, Lady Haruna. As I understand it, once this alliance is formalized, your country will be in a much more stable position. Yes, she nodded slightly, still whispering so only her escorts could hear her, I am fully prepared to leave immediately. That won't cause a problem? Sakura asked, carefully. No, those ministers I fully trust are expecting my departure and are ready for a swift exit, the princess said. Then we should get a move on, ASAP, Naruto said softly but firmly. Then he glanced over at Neji, and deferred, right, boss. The Hyuga Jonin nodded, struggling against a grin that was totally inappropriate for the situation, but that Uzumaki often engendered anyways. So, I hear that the least eligible, yet most sought after, bachelor in the Hidden Leaf Village, is finally off the market. Haruna broached the subject conspiratorially after their lunch break on the third day of travel. Slowed by the daimyo's pace, they were still 3 days away from the capital city of the Land of Birds. They were cutting it close, but had planned just enough time to reach the destination the evening before the conference was set to begin. Yeah, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Then his eyes narrowed in confusion, and he asked, why does everyone seem to know that? Sakura frowned in annoyance, and Neji stayed carefully neutral. Well, you have made quite a name for yourself, the princess shrugged, ousting tyrants, preventing the overthrow of young rulers. She blushed slightly, finishing, winning the hearts of princesses, to various degrees. Not another one, Sakura muttered under her breath. Unseen by the relaxed group, another trio observed them. Well, the tallest grass ninja demanded. He was oddly built, with a huge, muscular torso and arms, and spindly legs. He had light green hair and eyes, and his hair rose from his head in 3-foot-long spikes. He wore a standard black shozaku, with a tan vest. The red metal chains wrapped repeatedly around both of his forearms offset the rather common nature of his uniform. The smallest ninja lowered his binoculars, and shifted his gaze to his digital reader. He was under 5 feet in height, but his arms were too long for his body, giving him an apish appearance. His head was totally devoid of hair, which accentuated the fact that his eyes were of 2 different shades of blue, the left being substantially darker than the right. He wore the same uniform as his senior, minus the chains, but his had a number of high-tech devices outfitted to it. One of them is a Hyuga, the slight warrior told his teammates. He paged through the files on his palm top, before addressing them again. Neji Hyuga, unless I miss my guess, he continued, the kunoiki is Sakura Haruno, the Leaf Village doesn't have anyone else with that particular hair color. But the last one is tough. I find 3 potentials, but none of them are a good match. The hair is too short in back, and his build is too skinny for a Noiki Yamanaka. Guki Namika's. It can't be that man, the grass kunoiki shuddered, it just can't be. She wrapped her arms tightly around her body, but not from the temperature. The act boosted her impressive cleavage. The 20-something's figure rivaled that of the Hokage. Her pretty face suggested a kind, generous nature, echoed in her soft hazel eyes. Her hair was an odd gradient, blue on the right side, gradually shifting to purple on the left side. It was braided, and hung to the middle of her shoulder blades. Unlike her teammates, she wore civilian clothes, a scoop-necked peasant blouse, a knee-length blue skirt, thigh-high boots, and her grass shield was hidden, wrapped around her under her shirt. Though she could have passed for a normal civilian, a careful examination would have revealed her outfit was composed of reinforced materials, and she had multiple kunai hidden in her boots and under her skirt. Okay, the observing warrior shrugged, well, he's also too tall to be Naruto Uzumaki. Let me see that. The leader took the Slighter Ninja's portable, and flicked through the entries. He grunted angrily, and threw the device away. The computer's owner dove to catch it before it could hit the ground. Our leader needs to spend more money on information, and less on stupid gadgets, he told his underlings. That data is over 3 years old. Unless he stopped growing at age 12, that is Naruto Uzumaki. But we have, do not engage, orders for Uzumaki, the young woman insisted. Maybe for a normal mission, the head ninja shook his head, but this is a task from the daimyo of the land of grass and our leader. Secondary standing orders do not apply. We attack then. The technology-savvy ninja stored his palm top. No, the unevenly built ninja informed them, our mission is to prevent the treaty from being signed, and to ensure Lady Haruna's safety. We need only delay them long enough for the other teams to do their jobs. A battle would not necessarily serve our purpose. Their commander grinned confidently, I have another idea. Let's go. After watching in silent mirth as Sakura and Haruna tormented Naruto about his love life for almost 20 minutes, Neji finally interceded. Lady Haruna, the Jonin interjected, if I may ask, what led you to this alliance with the land of birds? The young ruler glanced at the blonde Chunin, smiling slightly. It was not quite 16 months ago, she began, I had journeyed to the Konohagakure to observe the Chunin exam, and discuss certain events with Tsunade Dono. During the event, I was seated next to the daimyo of another small country. She expressed displeasure to her consort, she was unhappy that a certain young man would not be competing in the exam. Hey, Sakura, Naruto whispered loudly, what's a consort? The medical expert groaned in disappointment, it means the husband of a female ruler. Dummy. I was of a similar mind, and we started conversing, the princess continued, amused at the interruption, of course that was Tokidono, and as we spoke, we discovered we had more in common than just a specific blonde leaf ninja. So you two decided to create an alliance to protect yourselves from the grass country, Sakura half asked, half said. Yes, Haruna agreed, by working together, we will improve our economies and increase our security. Wait, Naruto looked confused, I thought you guys already had lots of money, and that was part of why the grass guys want to take over. Won't making more money just make them more interested? Possibly, Haruna said, but our military alliance should more than offset the financial gains. You see, the land of birds has a strong standing army, but no ninjas to speak of. We have the Flower Ninja clan, but they are no match for the entire Hidden Grass village. But if we fought together, we would be nearly equal in strength. In addition, part of the treaty calls for a mutual defense fund, To hire the Hidden Leaf Village should our situation require it. Naruto bit his lip and nodded, trying to digest all of the information. Then he suddenly stopped walking. Whoa, deja vu, the blonde Chunin exclaimed. What was that? Neji froze, his face creased with suspicion. That lump of rocks, it looks a lot like another group we passed a while ago, Uzumaki explained. I noticed because it looks like Kakashi-sensei's hair. Yeah, it kinda does, Sakura nodded, tilting her head to look at the stones from an angle. Is it like the ones we passed before? The Hyuga Jonin asked, or the same? How could it be the same? Their client asked nervously. Our path has been a straight one, west by northwest, navigating off the sun. We could not have gone in a circle. Not unless the sun was in the wrong place. Naruto looked up, as if expecting the gold orb to reverse direction. Neji glanced up, appraising the sky earnestly. What is it, Neji-san? Haruna asked, glancing back and forth between Neji and the sun. The head ninja did not answer. Instead he put his hands together and activated his Kekkei Genkai. After a second of looking around, the Jonin signed quickly, and suddenly disappeared. Neji. Naruto gaped. He was not familiar with the hand seals the Jonin had used, but based on the configuration, he did not think it was the body flicker technique or some other teleportation jutsu. Sakura, was that Shunshin? He asked, quickly, still glancing about. I don't think. She started to confirm his initial assumption, but stopped short. Neji, she exclaimed as he reappeared before her. Neji, Naruto asked, craning his neck to look past her, and registering surprise when he did not see their teammate. Did I miss him? The daimyo of greens blinked to clear her eyes. No, he's right here. Sakura looked right at the robed shinobi. Skirtasem, some sort of gibberish emerged from Neji's mouth. Neji. Sakura grimaced in confusion. Are you alright? Sakura. Naruto eyed her with concern. Sakura. Neji's pronunciation of her name was oddly drawn out. They cannot see or hear me. The three of you are still trapped in the web of genjutsu. I am using an illusion of my own to talk to you. After I broke myself free of the technique, I realized you could no longer see me. Release. Sakura brought her palms together and tried to disconnect herself from the technique. But nothing happened. I did not expect that to work, Neji told her. It did not for me, even when I could see the prison. It is composed of 5 separate, interwoven illusions. I had to use the illusion sever jutsu to free myself. Do you know the technique? Only by reputation, she frowned. We don't have time for me to instruct you in its usage, he considered. Perhaps if we work together. It's worth a shot, she agreed. She started to put her hands together again, but then noticed Haruna and Naruto, both staring at her anxiously. Just a second, the pink-haired Kunoichi told the Jonin. She quickly explained the situation to the princess and the knucklehead. Naruto attempted to break free of the genjutsu net, but neither Neji nor Sakura was surprised when he failed. Release. Sakura put her hands together and focused her chakra. She could almost sense the techniques holding her. Then she felt a pressure against her forehead that had not been there before. The maze around her became clear, and she was able to exit. Unlike the noonday sun of the illusion, the medic found herself in twilight. Neji withdrew his fingers from her scalp. She glanced back, and Naruto and Haruna were still there, but their faces were slowly taking on expressions of amazement. Looking down in the dim, she saw multiple sets of their tracks in the dirt. It seems we have been walking in circles, but at a slowed rate, Neji told her. It appears we passed that rock at least 6 times. He pointed to the spiky formation that Naruto had noticed. What about those 2? Sakura queried. I believe that working together, we will be able to free them as well, Neji stated. And if we can't, then we will have to locate the creator or creators of this trap, and make them collapse it, the Hyuga branch ninja responded firmly, but let us try the other way first. She nodded, and walked over to Haruna. Neji wondered briefly at her choice, and then joined her. Naruto was in the process of inching his hands together again. Both of the liberated shinobi touched the daimyo's brow, and intoned in unison, release. Now that she was outside of the spell, Sakura was more aware of the resistance. But after a few seconds of warring, the leaf warriors won out, and their client blinked at them at normal speed. Sakura, Neji, she gaped slightly as they withdrew, dropping honorifics in her surprise. She suddenly dropped to her knees. Sakura crouched next to her examining the ruler. I'm okay, Haruna panted, my legs just suddenly ached. We have been walking for 5 hours more than our brains were allowed to register, Neji told her, even if it was at a reduced pace. What about Naruto? The princess asked. Ah, Neji. Sakura. Naruto swiveled about rapidly, trying to find the others. Then he put his hands together. He focused like Iruka taught him, swirling his chakra to dislodge the genjutsu. Release, he intoned, but the false world remained around him. Release, Uzumaki shouted, his face lighting with rage. His chakra became visible around him, to no avail. The Chunin remained trapped. Come on, release, he pleaded. His situation remained the same, and he stomped the dirt in annoyance. Why can't I break free? He demanded of the heavens, even when I know it's not real. What is real? The Kyuubi chuckled at his impotence. What you see, hear, taste. Those things can be faked, both by forces outside of you, and by your own mind. Or is it the material world, whether you sense it or not? My power can reshape the world according to my will, so how can you say that it is real? As the teen ninja pondered the demon's words, Sakura reappeared before him. Stop moving around you, idiot, her image said unevenly, as she tried to adjust to the time differential. Neji and I are trying to free you. Okay, he agreed, freezing in place, ready to defeat the illusion. The image of Sakura disappeared, and Naruto began to fight the spell again. It's not working, Neji was amazed as he relinquished his contact with the blonde Chunin's forehead. We were able to free both you and Lady Haruna, so why is Naruto still trapped? Maybe we should just leave him here, Sakura suggested. But the daimyo's expression showed she was not amused by the remark. The kunoichi was spared a sharp retort when Neji's eyebrows rose. What is he doing? The Hyuga Jonin pondered, as Naruto started waving slowly for their attention. The team leader signed quickly, and projected his likeness to Naruto's eyes and ears. Within the illusion, Uzumaki was rapidly swinging his arms back and forth. What is it, Naruto? Neji queried him directly. What's the hold up? The younger man demanded. I was standing there, trying to break the illusion for like a minute. In reality, it was closer to 10 minutes, Neji frowned, but we are as mystified as you are. You should be free by now. Then what? Am I gonna be stuck here forever? Unlikely, Neji snorted derisively. Whoever is maintaining this trap will run out of chakra eventually. Though Sakura did suggest leaving you here until then. No way, Sakura, he shouted, though unfortunately in the wrong direction, you're not leaving me here. The question remains, how can we make you see through this genjutsu web? Neji's mirth faded. See, maybe that's it, Naruto exclaimed excitedly. Neji looked at him in curious condescension. But the Chunin just grinned proudly. Karaname Jutsu, Kakashi's student explained, Hinata said you're pretty good at it. Maybe if you show me the real world, it will help get me out of here. It is worth a try, Neji admitted. He nodded at his junior, and instructed, get ready. Neji activated the vision lending jutsu, and Naruto's view changed. He almost vomited as the world went from light to dim, and the speed of the real world fought against the slowness of the fake world. The young adult closed his eyes, hoping it would help, but he could still see through the Karaname jutsu, and the time perception jutsu did not rely on vision. He choked back his lunch, and took a deep breath. Ready? Neji asked. Naruto nodded, slowly, carefully. He placed his hands together, and Sakura and Neji each touched one of his eyelids, instead of his forehead. Release, they incanted in unison. For a few heartbeats, Naruto felt as if his entire chakra network was on fire, but then he was doused with cold, and he was free. Woo! Naruto exhaled, stretching out. What now? The male Chunin asked, do we find who did this? That's not our job, Neji shook his head, they did not try to hurt us, and we need to make up lost time, not waste more. Neji, I don't know if Lady Haruna can go much further, Sakura said quietly. As much as I would like to disagree, the daimyo joined the discussion loudly, I'm afraid Sakura-san is correct. I can carry her, Naruto suggested, if you don't mind, Lady Haruna. The princess blushed, then she nodded. With a slightly apologetic look, Naruto scooped her up in his arms. Naruto, piggyback would make more sense, Sakura said darkly. If she's too tired to walk, you can hardly expect her to hang on, Naruto countered. Sakura glared at Neji, but the Jonin just shrugged. And the daimyo looked away, obviously embarrassed. Fine, let's just get moving, she grimaced. Naruto looked at Neji questioningly, and the Hyuga youth nodded. Naruto sighed sadly, and the three ninjas started running. Now what? The grass tech ninja asked his two senpai. We joined Team 2 in the land of birds, the trident-haired leader said quietly, let them know what happened, and double our forces for the next phase. The computer user nodded, and the kunoichi looked worried and unhappy. Lady Toki, the seneschal announced, I present Lady Haruna of the Land of Greens, and her escorts Neji Hyuga, Naruto Uzumaki, and Sakura Haruno. Welcome, Toki smiled formally at her guests, I trust your journey went well. As well as can be expected, Haruna answered, her inflection indicating she would have more to say in private. Her traveling cloths were gone, replaced by a formal yukata in 3 different hues of green, very similar to the white and yellow garment her counterpart wore. The 3 shinobi were clad in the usual uniforms, but had changed into fresh outfits. The hosting ruler nodded, her smile slipping, then perhaps we should resume our talks without delay. That would be the wisest course, Haruna inclined her head. Then, if you will come with me. Toki stood carefully. The daimyo shared a worried glance with her husband, before stepping down to their level. She indicated the left-hand side of the audience chamber, where a hallway led to more private rooms. Toki began to walk towards the corridor, and Haruna and the leaf ninjas moved to follow. But before they could approach the bird daimyo, a pair of kunai embedded themselves in the floor in front of Haruna. I wouldn't do that, Toki. A familiar voice exclaimed loudly. At the back of the throne room, another Naruto Uzumaki landed, having just leapt over the heads of the guards at the entrance. He set down a second Haruna, and an additional Sakura and Neji dropped down next to him. Don't go anywhere with those imposters, the second Naruto commanded. The new arrivals were slightly dirty and disheveled, and the new daimyo Haruna was panting. They stared at the earlier arrivals indignantly. Don't listen to them, Toki, the first Naruto countered, they're the imposters. Is this why you delayed us? The dust-covered Neji asked evenly, so you could insert yourselves into Lady Toki's court. Is this a desperate ploy, because we escaped your trap too quickly? The first Neji redirected. Sagi's sister, meanwhile, had withdrawn to the dais where her husband still sat, and her soldiers surrounded the platform. Which ones are the real ones? Toki asked Shishima. I'm the real deal, the grimy Uzumaki said, see. He held up his right hand, and formed a Rasengan above it. So what? The polished version shot back, I can do that too. He lifted his own palm, and identical sphere hovered over it. No way, the later rival gaped. Then he recovered, and challenged, that's not real. It's gotta be a genjutsu or something. So why don't we see which one is stronger? He took a step forward, pointing the attack at his duplicate. No way, the clean Chunin parroted, you've probably got some lighting or fire jutsu hidden under that illusion. So when they hit, you'll burn me and make it look like you won. I'm not falling for that trick. Why you? The soiled Uzumaki growled, starting to charge. Then he pulled up short. He grinned mischievously, and his Rasengan vanished. Okay, he presented, wiping a smudge off his face, if you're really me, then how did I meet Lady Toki for the first time? The real Toki, not her pretending to be Sagi. The first Naruto stammered, that's a trick question. You want me to say it was when everyone else found out. But, I knew she was really a woman right away. The pervert hermit taught me how to read women, and wrong. The genuine article smirked triumphantly, first, pervy sage didn't teach me that until later. But either way, you're wrong on both counts. Though I didn't realize it at the time, the first time I saw Toki was when I was sneaking around the palace, and I ran into her out back. She was. That's enough, the daimyo of birds barked, turning deep red. That is the real Naruto, she continued, indicated the dirt-coated youth who had been about to reveal her guards, surround the imposters. Lady Toki, you cannot believe this. The fake Haruna started to protest, but the real princess interrupted her. Toki Dono knows I would never refer to her like that, the daimyo of greens said imperiously, despite still being short of breath. The imposters group all turned to glare at her. Big mistake, Naruto crowed, taking your eyes off me. Uzumaki charged the remainder of the gap, and punched his doppelganger hard in the face. The stunned ninja was knocked back into the false Sakura, and as they collided, he lost control of his transformation, and reverted to normal. The long-limbed, hairless grass ninja reappeared in a puff of smoke. Now what? The revealed warrior asked, as he leapt back to his feet, drawing a kunai in each hand. Plan B, the false Haruna sneered, dropping all pretense of civility. She drew a whip, readying herself for a fight. Plan B doesn't call for them to be here. The duplicate of Sakura insisted. Her hand swept to indicate the three-leaf ninja, but her eyes focused on Naruto and Haruna. The grass tech ninja nodded in agreement. Fine, the impersonator of the daimyo grumbled, retreat. Like we're gonna let you escape, Naruto made a cutting gesture with his hand. But at the same time, the four grass shinobi each smashed a smoke bomb on the ground. The cloud was swirling as the imposters used the body flicker to appear behind the guards, already running. Naruto started to give chase. Stop, Neji ordered. Uzumaki almost tripped as he slid to a halt, and he turned to goggle at the jonin. The eldest teen had activated his Kekkei Genkai, and was watching their enemies flee. We gotta go after them, the blonde chunin insisted. But Hyuga just shook his head. No, their leader explained, there are 4 of them, and only 3 of us. They have already split up, which means whoever we do not pursue could double back. Our job is to protect the daimyos, and that is best accomplished by staying here with them. Naruto nodded reluctantly in agreement, and Sakura sighed. Part of her agreed with her teammate, but she knew their leader was correct. Well, you all appear as if you could use a chance to clean up. Toki stepped back down, taking charge of the situation, but I don't intend to let you out of my sight. Ah. Sakura groaned in contentment as she eased herself into the bath. Both of the daimyos were already submerged to their shoulders, and Toki smiled at the shinobi. I take it you had an interesting trip. Their host asked, after the warrior medic had settled, and had placed her towel on the shelf. Sakura and Haruna glanced at one another, and the ruler of the land of green shrugged. Not interesting, to-chan, just tedious, the younger daimyo explained. Someone, presumably the same group from earlier, trapped us in an illusion that made us walk in circles for hours without being aware of the time. To-chan. Inner Sakura frowned. So then to make up for lost time, Naruto carried me part of the way. You must have loved that, Ha-chan, Toki smirked at her counterpart. I've been through worse, she conceded, but her reddening cheeks and tiny smile made lie her apathetic tone. But we have more important matters to attend to, Haruna said pointedly. Toki nodded in sharp agreement, and they both turned on Sakura, leaning towards her, their eyes sparkling. The kunoichi cringed back, but she had nowhere to go. Is it true you know Yuki Fujikaze? Toki asked, breathless with curiosity and jealousy. You have failed again, the grass jonin told them dismissively. Despite being equal in rank to 2 members of the intercepting team, he was in control of the mission. And despite being the second shortest, he looked down on the other 4 shinobi. Other than his somewhat noticeable lack of height, he was the most unassuming of the group, with shoulder-length black hair, and a plain, forgettable face. Don't give me that crap, the trident-haired warrior snapped, you're not some criminal mastermind, and we're not your stooges. We completed our mission. We delayed them for more than half a day's travel time, and then reported the situation, so you could plan your move. And don't try pinning this fiasco on us, the computer expert warned, flashing his palm top. I had already filed Ayameko and Saburo's reservations about the impersonation scheme. Our leader already knows we warned you that the Leaf Ninja were making up lost time, and that we didn't have enough intel to pass a more than passing inspection. The second kunoichi chuckled. No longer wearing the form of Haruna, she now wore a green patch over her right eye. Her dirty blonde hair was cut severely short, and her shozaku was ragged around the edges, and more than slightly revealing. What now? Ayameko had dropped Sakura's guise, and was once again in her civilian-styled garb. Her light eyes showed worry over the conflict between her allies, and her interruption and gentle tone were intended to forestall further bickering. Our leader is going to contact us within the hour, their appointed commander explained. He has been informed of the situation, and will decide how to proceed. Okay, what's going on here? Naruto demanded grumpily. After the boys had met up with the girls again, Sakura quickly foisted the giggly princesses onto Naruto. Haruna and Toki had proceeded to spend nearly an hour interrogating him about the daimyo of the Land of Snow, and her actress alter ego. After they had dragged all the information they could out of the younger Chunin, the ladies started to talk about summer plans and then the latest fashions. It was after another 10 minutes of that Naruto lost his temper. I mean, I thought this was supposed to be some kind of negotiations, he complained, but you're acting like this is a slumber party. Toki looked chagrined, but Haruna not the least bit off-put by the challenge. To be honest, the Princess of the Birds admitted, the basic structure of the alliance was set 5 months ago. So, what have your meetings been about, all this time? Neji kept his voice down, but his tone was just as recriminating. We still had minor details to hammer out, Haruna answered defensively, various merchants and ministers who had to be assuaged, terms to tweak. She did not seem convinced by her own argument, and both of the male ninja prepared to press their assault. But before they could, Toki spoke again. It's a lonely thing, she said in a sad voice, being a female ruler. People are much quicker to second-guess you, to try to bully you. Until I met Ha-chan, Chishima was the only friend I had. But even he didn't fully understand, how could he? As we went through the early talks, Haruna picked up, we realized we had a lot in common, beyond just being daimyos and women. Along the way, we became friends, and so we drew out the negotiations, so we would have an excuse to visit. But then the land of grass began to pick up on your meetings, and tried to interfere, Sakura nodded her understanding. Yes, Toki said, and we knew we had to sign the treaties before things escalated too far. That is the purpose of this summit. Today we will have our fun. Tomorrow we will go over the paperwork one more time, and on Wednesday we will have the formal signing. Assuming, of course, we don't find anything out of place tomorrow. She grinned smugly at Haruna, as she offered the conditional. Hey, the younger ruler pouted, I told you, that wasn't my fault. My Minister of Agriculture slipped that line item in, and I dismissed him as soon as we found it. Toki chuckled at her, I know. But I have to give you grief about it, to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, if you will permit us our fun. Toki turned back to the Leaf Warriors, inclining her head slightly and asking their indulgence instead of ordering them. You could have just told us from the beginning, Naruto shrugged, you should both know I'm not one to stand on protocol. That's for sure, Sakura interjected. Speaking of that, Toki suddenly grew angry, and leaned in closer to Naruto, mysteriously drawing the Noro-Imisha katana from under her kimono. If you ever again announce in open court that you snuck in and saw me bathing, she let the threat trail off, and then smiled sweetly. Unfortunately Sakura and Haruna's faces told him he might have been better off if Sagi's twin had cut if down then and there. The tech ninja yanked the headset away as the loud, shrill voices overwhelmed him. We will have to move tomorrow, the senior grass ninja told the other four. Our leader has given us permission to ignore the daimyos, request to keep Haruna safe, though we should still pretend we tried to protect his cousin. Unfortunately, we are still not allowed to kill or seriously injure Naruto Uzumaki. But there is a reward if we can capture him. Ayameko sighed, I suppose this means we will be going with a direct assault. You and your delicate sensibilities, the other kunoiki sneered. Of course, the would-be villain smiled broadly. So, Naruto-kun, Haruna suddenly said. Toki had gone to speak with Chishima, taking Sakura as her escort. Neji had followed halfway behind them, so he could watch both princesses with his Byakugan. After she felt the others were gone, the leader of the Greens country moved around the table to talk to the Chunin face to face. Is it really true you are with Hinata-san? Haruna asked innocently. Yup. Naruto grinned happily, then he paused and his eyes narrowed. Why did you say it like that? It's just, I can't see it, she maintained her unassuming air, but spoke more carefully. I mean, you're total opposites, she explained simply, you're loud and brash and ill-mannered. Not that that's a bad thing. And Hinata is quiet and gentle and polite. It doesn't seem like a good fit. Well, they say opposites attract, Naruto shrugged, unperturbed. Opposites attract, she agreed, but likes last. Hinata and I have plenty in common. Uzumaki frowned at her, we love dancing, and fantasy movies and books. We both like romantic comedies, though she prefers romance, while I go more for comedy. Then his expression turned even more dark, and we both know what it's like to be lonely, and looked down on. We were the two of the three loser ninjas of the Konohagakure. I was the unfocused, untalented knucklehead, she was the unsuited heiress, weak of body and spirit. People just assumed they knew us, what we could do, and what we would do. And we've both grown past that. Naruto, Haruna was taken aback, but was unsure what to say. I love Hinata, he told her, but not quite thinking of the daimyo before him, and I'm not going to let anyone come between us. Sakura, Naruto whispered, putting his head close to the door. When she did not respond, he said her name again, slightly louder. Whether due to his inadvertent suggestion, or if they had planned it all along, Uzumaki did not know. But at the end of the night, the two princesses had pulled Sakura into Toki's chamber, while exiling Chishima, Naruto, and Neji to Chishima's private room. As Haruna closed the door, Naruto swore he heard the medic groan, "Not again." Still troubled by Neji's revelation on the first leg of their trip, Naruto snuck into the hall, and called for his friend's attention. Though the suite had fallen silent, Uzumaki doubted his teammate was asleep. She was too responsible to have taken her rest without informing them. He kept his voice down, not wanting to wake their clients. On the third time he said her name, the door slid open. Despite the seriousness of his visit, Naruto almost lost it when he saw Sakura. Her hair had been knitted into dozens of tiny braids, jutting out of her head in every possible direction. Naruto snorted, and his eyes watered from trying to contain himself. "What?" she growled, both from the interruption and from his reaction. "What happened to your hair?" he asked carefully. Sakura touched her scalp, and then remembered what she had been subjected to. "Those two are worse than Ino and Temari," she hissed quietly. She put her hands together, and the binders locking her hair in place exploded. Another burst of chakra, and the braids unraveled. Sakura shook her head, sighing in release as her coif returned to its usual state. Then she looked at Naruto again, stern but no longer angry. "What is it?" she demanded softly. "There's something I need to talk to you about," he sobered. His surprisingly formal tone put the kunoichi on edge. "I want to know why you are being so," he struggled with the phrasing, so it did not sound like an accusation, "why you have been so callous towards Hinata." "What?" Shocked, Sakura barely kept her voice down. Though he was not proud himself for thinking it, Naruto wondered if her amazement was from the allegation, or simply because he was the one making it. "Did Hinata say that?" the pink-haired woman barked under her breath. "Hinata would never snitch. And you know it," he shot back. "That's why you got away with it for so long." "I should have noticed it sooner," he said sadly. "I first started to figure it out during the fight with the zombie actors last month. When Hinata said her Suijin Byakugan might not work against that genjutsu, you rolled your eyes and said, 'So much for that,' in a really sarcastic tone. Even though there was nothing more any of the rest of us could have done, even Kakashi-sensei." Sakura started to speak, but trailed off in thought and memory. She found she was unable to meet his eyes. "I thought it might have been that you were mad Hinata took Sasuke's place," he told her, "like you were with Sai. But the more I rolled it around in my head, the bigger it got. Like on my birthday, when you were leading us to the surprise party. I didn't hear exactly what you two said, but I could tell by your face and voice, you were hounding Hinata, and she looked really down about it." Sakura bit her lip, remembering that she had basically accused the other woman of using her clan's money to buy Naruto's affections. "And even before that, you were pretty snappish with her on the Reaper and Nyoko missions," he continued. "So what's up?" he asked gently, but determinedly. "Did Hinata accidentally do something to make you mad? Or are you jealous of her growth or that she got a boyfriend first?" Sakura inhaled sharply at that, and her confused look was replaced by a quick anger. But Naruto's disappointment called her off almost as fast. "I don't know," she said softly. "I guess hanging around with you, and Kakashi-sensei, and Lady Tsunade, and Sasuke, I've gotten used to being abrasive. To needing to be direct, and even a little mean, to get my point across." Then she smiled sadly, and though I don't like to admit it, maybe I am a little jealous that Hinata found someone first. I always liked her, and I used to root for her, but to be honest, I generally expected she would be forced into an arranged marriage by her clan. I really didn't realize that I had gotten this bad," Sakura said regretfully. "I'm sorry, Naruto." "It's not me you should apologize to," he said, almost inaudibly. As the blonde Chunin slipped back into Chishima's room, Sakura looked thoughtfully annoyed. The next morning the two daimyos and the three ninja returned to the conference room after breakfast. The two women quickly set out the sheaf of parchments, prepared brushes and ink for any last-minute changes. Finally, Naruto grunted happily, "We can get this treatise signed, and shut down those grass ninja." "The treaty won't be signed until tomorrow, knucklehead," Sakura said less aggressively than her usual corrections. "This is the final read-through." "This is just a formality," Toki said, looking from her counterpart smugly. "Right. To Chan, I mean Toki Dono, that will not be the case this time," Haruna protested. "Of course not," the bird Daimyo smiled more openly. The younger leader stuck out her tongue, but then she smiled too. "Then let's beggy." Toki grew serious, but was cut off by an explosion near the edge of the palace. Another blast shook the entire room, and shortly thereafter they heard echoing shouts of the guards. "Naruto, let's go," Neji ordered. "Sakura, stay with Lady Toki and Lady Haruna." "Right," both younger shinobi answered in unison, and the two men rushed out. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.